Hope you're enjoying the wonderful breakfast. Welcome. What a beautiful day. Let's get started. I'm Lisa Bonnington. We're your hosts this evening. I'm the president and CEO of the Martinez Chamber of Commerce. I'd first like to start with some recognition. I'd like to recognize the Martinez Chamber Board of Directors. This past year's success and momentum could not have been possible without the hard work and dedication of my board. They're an integral part of this organization. As a working board, I want to thank each and every one of them for giving their time, efforts, and talent for the Chamber's success. And I ask if each of you could stand as I call your name for those of you that were able to attend so that we can give you a round of applause and acknowledgement. So first, our chair of the board, Adam Hoffert with AAA. Our past chair of the board and secretary for the board, Laura Philpott, Eco Services. Our treasurer of the board, Rod Garza with Shell Western States Federal Credit Union. Shelby Taylor with Kaiser Permanente. Mike Manning with Keller Williams Real Estate. Michelle Corey, Martinez Refining Company. Crystal Ensley, Market in Maine. And Mary Graffilo with Carlton Senior Living. In addition to that, we have an incredible MAC committee. We call them MAC for Martinez Ambassador Club. They're amazing advocates on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. They represent the Chamber. They are our welcome committee and our greeters at many of our events. If you are a member of the MAC committee, would you please stand? Thank you. We also have an event committee who works tirelessly year-round to bring us quality events such as this that provide opportunities, education, exposure, and enjoyment for the city of Martinez, its businesses and residents alike. They're an incredible addition to the team. We'll soon be introducing also a business networking referral group, and Aaron, would you stand? He's going to be the event chair or the committee chair for that. So thank you for that. I'd also like to recognize and thank our sponsors, for without them, we would not be able to have these quality events as well. So our breakfast sponsors this morning are Contra Costa Association of Realtors, thank you. Eco Services, and Martinez Refining Company. Thank you so much. Thank you to Republic Services for sponsoring the recording of the event in cooperation with CCTV. The recording will be posted on the Martinez Chamber website, and we will also post links in social media and publish and post the air dates and details. Thank you, of course, to Creekside Church and the production team here. This is an incredible venue. They're our venue sponsors, so thank you so much. Of course, I'd also like to acknowledge our wonderful caterer who has served many a mayor's breakfast for many years in the past and hopefully many years to come, our chef's touch. So thank you. I hope everybody is enjoying this nourishing and delicious breakfast, and I hope you left me some. At this time, I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the following dignitaries for those that were able to join us. Of course, our City Council member Mark Ross, Debbie McKillip, Satinder Mali, Councilmember also Jay Howard, and of course, our incredible Mayor Brianne Zorn. On your program is a list of upcoming and immediate events that we hope that you will join us and enjoy. Many of them include networking mixers, business after hours, ribbon cuttings, but we also are very involved in our community and wanted to promote some upcoming events as well. Tonight, in fact, is a meet and greet with our Sturgeons, our baseball team, that's going to be happening at Five Suns. So please come out and join us and welcome them. And then tomorrow night, we will be conducting a ribbon cutting at William Welsh Wines. Steve, would you stand, please? If anybody has any questions, please join us. I understand there's also going to be a car show going on downtown Main Street. And then also this Saturday is the beer event downtown Martinez is hosting. So please come out and join us. And if you haven't already gotten tickets, I believe there's still some for sale. So without further ado, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce our guest speaker, Tim Haile. Tim Haile is the Executive Director with the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. Haile is responsible for the overall management of the authority, including implementation of projects and programs identified in CCTA's voter-approved Sales Tax Measure C and Measure J, Growth Management Program, the Congestion Management Program, as well as policies and procedures, the board-approved budget, and all administrative functions. He previously served as CCTA's Deputy Executive Director, Projects, and has more than 23 years of experience in program management, public works, and transportation projects. Haile has been an active leader in the transportation industry and community, serving as the Communications Chair at the Transportation Research Board Managed Lanes Committee and board member of the California Transportation Foundation in 2014. In 2014, he was named as top 20 under 40 engineering professionals in California by Engineering News Record magazine. Tim joined the authority in May of 2017, bringing more than 20 years of experience in transportation, program, and project management. He is a registered professional engineer and earned his bachelor's degree in civil engineering from California Polytechnic State University, Pomona. So, I introduce you, Tim Haile. Thank you.
I really need to get someone to work on that, shorten that bio. So I guess my job this morning is to talk about transportation, but also to really warm you up for the headliner. That's really my job here today. And it's hard to do that sometimes with transportation and technical stuff, so I'm gonna do my best here. But it's always exciting to see what's happening here in the city of Martinez. I actually live right next door in the city of Pleasant Hill, and my wife and I and my kids always come down here and sitting right downtown Martinez to kind of take part in all the events. We love the Christmas things that happen here in downtown and just all the wonderful things. And we're actually gonna be here on Saturday for the beer event. Always love a good beer. So looking forward to that. And is there like a clicker, or do I just advance this? Just tell you how to advance the slides? Okay, perfect. So today I wanted to talk about all the things going on in the city of Martinez, but also how Martinez is really being focused on in terms of connecting to a lot of the regional transportation projects and programs that we have here in Contra Costa County. And so if you go to the next slide, I wanted to talk a little bit about who we are. Who is Contra Costa Transportation Authority? We are not the bus agency. We always get confused with the Central Contra Costa Transportation Authority. And that is County Connection. Those are the buses that are running around all over Central Contra Costa County. And so it always gets confused between 2 CTA and 3 CTA. And I don't know what happened there, but that's how the cards fell. Those are the cards I've been dealt. And so we've been working on that for a long time. But we actually collect a half-cent sales tax measure in Contra Costa County. We started collecting that sales tax in 2004. And since then we've funded over $5.6 billion of capital projects in Contra Costa County. We also fund lots of programs. So this is a number of the things that we fund in terms of school bus service, but also really important programs such as like Street Smarts. Street Smarts is a program where we actually come to your local schools and we actually do an assembly with a little robotic car called Mr. Beep, which gets the kids really excited. And they actually get to learn about how to put on proper bike safety, helmet safety, how to ride their bike properly across the local road, how to walk, look both ways. And we do that program through elementary school, all the way through middle school and high school. And so it's really important that these types of programs are really helping active transportation and getting people around, people's health, people's quality of life. And those are really important programs in Contra Costa County that your half-cent sales tax actually funds in Contra Costa County. We also fund transit. So we fund BART, we fund County Connection. We also fund ferries. So Richmond Ferry Service is funded by CCTA. And then we also fund programs for accessible transportation for disabled and veterans and seniors to be able to get to the county hospital and get to dialysis appointments and so forth. And so we actually support funding paratransit services. If you go to the next slide, please. These are actually, it's pretty, hopefully you can see that. Okay, so it's really small for me, so hopefully you can see that. But these are the number of projects that CCTA has built over the last decade. So real big ones that you might see there. Fourth bore of the Caldecott Tunnel, brought to you by Contra Costa Transportation Authority. And that is because of your half-cent sales tax here in Contra Costa County. And it's important that we have that local revenue stream. Also, all of the major highway improvements that you've seen over the last decade, right? All the extension and modernization of Highway 4 out to Antioch and out to Brentwood. The extension of E-BART out to Antioch. All the improvements to 680, all the express lanes, the improvements to the Highway 4, 680 interchange. So the recent improvements right there, widening Highway 4 through 680 interchange, that was actually planned, funded, and designed, and built by Contra Costa Transportation Authority. So if you go to the next slide, please. And so how we're able to do this, right? So we leverage your local revenue source, your local sales tax dollar. For every $1 that we collect, we actually collect and attract $3 of regional, state, and federal funds. And that's what has been able to get to that $5.6 billion to build these important and critical transportation projects. Without the $1.4 million of measured local sales tax, we would not be able to do what we do here in Contra Costa County. This is my pitch for the measure, because eventually one day we will actually go out and renew our measure for another 25 years. And so hopefully the voters will support that, because again, without that local sales tax, we can't attract the state and federal dollars into Contra Costa County. Next slide, please. So one of the important projects that we're working on right now in Martinez is ferry service. Everyone in Martinez loves ferry service. Everyone, in fact, I was sitting down with Pete and he's just like, my priority is ferry service. I'm like, okay, all right, we got this. All right, we got this. All right, we got this. So everyone I talk to in Martinez, they want ferry service. And so we have been funding, like I said, Richmond Ferry Service. We planned and designed and implemented that. And right now we're conducting a feasibility study to understand what the capabilities and what is going to be needed to make ferry service in Martinez successful. And what's important to that, a lot of people get very fascinated with the actual vessel, but what's also more important, if not way more important, is the landside improvements. You know, the Martinez is, pretty far away from downtown, right? So making sure that we have a good first and last mile connection and connecting the marina to downtown Martinez and making sure we've got those really critical connections. And we're very innovative, so things like potentially in the future, shared autonomous vehicles or some really reliable personal experience in terms of connecting those 2 points. And so we're working on that feasibility study right now and trying to position us for future grant funding. What's really cool is the top picture on this slide is Richmond Ferry Service, but the one on the bottom, there's a company called Switch. They just announced that is a 100% hydrogen-powered ferry. And it's being piloted here in the Bay Area. That's a smaller vessel. So that's the type of vessel that we're going to be exploring as part of this ferry service, is really looking at zero emissions, but also looking at a smaller vessel to make it more efficient and more cost effective. Next slide, please. So the other big project we're working on is our Innovate 680 program. And so everyone hates congestion. I agreed? Everyone agree? Congestion sucks, right? Okay, so, and on 680 in the northbound in the afternoon, that really sucks, right? Going through Highway 24, that huge bottleneck. And so Innovate 680 is really the strategy to help address managing that congestion in the corridor, making your commute easier, giving you a better experience in transportation, giving you that more personalized experience. And so if you go to the next slide, that's why we call it Imagine the Possibilities, right? Imagine those possibilities. And so we're trying to create basically a seamless, connected full transportation system. Rather than just focusing on the highway, how do we do a better job of connecting all these disparate transportation systems together to make it a pleasure, making it a positive experience for you in transportation? And so we're working on 6 projects. I'm not going to go through all of them, but some of these in terms of projects is looking at how we can fix the bottleneck at Highway 24 by completing the express lanes and making some operational improvements. Also looking at how we can improve transit. Looking at how we can leverage technology to make the corridor operate more efficiently, because we're not going to build ourselves out of congestion. So we have to look at how we're going to leverage the infrastructure and make sure we can and optimize it so we can to make the throughputs higher, make the congestion reduce in the corridor. So we also look at how we're going to leverage other alternative modes. So how can we provide you alternatives to your car so maybe you can get around in your neighborhood much more easier. And so also looking at how we can leverage automated driving systems. So I'm going to talk about a few of these things next in this that's going on right here in the city of Martinez as part of this Innovate 680 programs. Next slide, please. So we're getting ready to deploy a mobility on demand app, and you're probably wondering, what is that? I don't know what this is. And so it's like Google Maps. It's like Google Maps on steroids. So what it is that you'll be able to plan and schedule and pay for a trip along the corridor in one platform. So you'll be able to look at your car and compare your car to transit. We'll be able to offer personalized mobility options such as first and last mile shuttles, as well as car share and bike share and scooters. All of these are services that we're deploying in the corridor throughout for everyone to use. And so this app will actually be deployed later this year, and it's a one-stop shop as well as receive rewards to incentivize you to use other modes. So we're kind of trying to basically gamify your transportation commute. And so make it more fun, right? And so if you go to the next slide, please, as part of that, one of the things we're adding is a brand new express bus service in the corridor. And why is that important for City of Martinez is because we're going to have a direct connection from the City of Martinez Amtrak directly to Walnut Creek BART. And that'll be a one-stop shop, just directly to direct one, so you'll have direct access to BART from the City of Martinez on this express bus service. And this express bus service would operate every 30 minutes on the clock, on the dime. And so making sure we're adding better transit in the corridor to get better access to a lot of these really important hubs along the corridor, such as Walnut Creek BART, Bishop Branch, Dublin BART. And the reason why is because you have an Amtrak station in Martinez, and then there's a rail station in Pleasanton, and there's a gap in the California State Rail Plan, and that's why it was important to provide this express bus service. So even at a statewide level, Martinez is on the map in terms of providing this important express bus service and closing that gap in the California State Rail Plan. And so we're working on this project. We actually received a $35 million grant last year from the state to implement this service. This service will also be zero emissions, so it'll be a hydrogen electric bus in the corridor, which will be the first of its kind. And it'll also be serviced by a number of shared mobility hubs. So if you go to the next slide, shared mobility hubs are important. So what we're looking at is really looking at the Martinez Amtrak station and make it a place for the community. Not necessarily look at it just transit stop, but how we can do placemaking and make it part of the community. And so that's what a shared mobility hub is really intended to do. And bringing in all of those amenities that I talked about earlier in terms of bike share and car share. Mayor Zorn was really excited about the bike valet. You know, how do we get more people to ride bikes and getting into other clean and healthy options for transportation. But also making sure you've got accessible options that are timed, that are scheduled, that are reliable, that are convenient, that are clean, that are safe. All that we're working on with our partners here, including County Connection, to provide those services, working both with the public sector and the private sector. So these shared mobility hubs are a great opportunity to have a cross-section between public sector and private sector to really provide a better experience in transportation. And so that's the whole concept of a shared mobility hub. And we're working closely with city staff right now to kind of visualize what that'll actually look like. This is just a visual in terms of what a regional hub might look like, but we're working with city staff right now to kind of visualize what that'll look like in downtown Martinez at the Amtrak station and really just kind of make and kind of bring more life to that station. And if you go to the next slide, the other thing that's really cool about CCTA is that we're very innovative. We actually own and operate one of the largest secured autonomous vehicle test beds in the country at the Concord Naval Weapons Station. And you probably didn't even know about that, but we have really big companies that are owned by guys who own satellite companies that test at Bonnington Station. And so all of your Silicon Valley OEMs are actually testing there, testing the new technologies, and it gives us the front row seat to the future in terms of how to leverage those technologies here in Contra Costa County. But what we've been really focused on is how can we do a better job of leveraging technology for first and last mile. So we were one of the first agencies in the country to actually import a shared autonomous vehicle. So it's a little toaster oven looking bus that holds about 12 people, and it actually drives itself. And our vision is that can help you get from your house to downtown Martinez or to a transit stop. So you don't necessarily have to either walk or use your car, but it gives you another option. And so we've been testing that. In fact, next week, we're actually deploying a shared autonomous vehicle for public use for the first time in California in Bishop Ranch. In fact, I actually wrote on it yesterday. And it's actually testing there in Bishop Ranch. And so any of you, if you want to experience what this is going to look like, but I do have a project in Martinez too. If you want to experience what it's going to look like, you could go down to Bishop Ranch in the next couple weeks and you'll be able to ride on the shuttle. So if you go to the next slide, please. So this is the County Hospital Accessible Transportation Project. This is an autonomous vehicle project that we're working on here in downtown Martinez. On the left side is the map of where this vehicle will be going. And on the bottom right is the actual vehicle. So it's a Toyota Sienna. And this is how far the technology has come, but Toyota actually delivers this vehicle essentially with a wire. It's called drive-by-wire. And then May Mobility, our partner, they actually put an autonomous vehicle technology in there to make the vehicle drive autonomously. We will always have a safety attendant in the vehicle, making sure people be able to ask questions, give people a level of security and safety, but also to be able to support and attend someone to get into the back of this van. And so it's wheelchair accessible, it's ADA compliant. And so the purpose of this project is to help provide better access to the county hospital to address the growing rate of absenteeism for people getting to medical appointments because they don't have access to transportation. We got a call from the county hospital saying, hey, we just heard that CCTA is doing really cool things. We've got this problem. Can you help us with this absentee issue? So we're like, great, let's work together. And so that's why we're doing these projects. We don't do these projects, we don't do autonomous vehicles because it's cool and it's fun. We actually are using autonomous and technology to address real world problems. And so we're working, so this technology is integrated directly into the health system. So if you make an appointment, you'll be asked if you have transportation. If you don't, then we will schedule and hail this vehicle to use to get to the hospital to make sure, again, health, quality of life. It's also with commingling. So depending on the demand of the vehicle relative to ridership and relative to paratransit, the vehicle will also be available for first and last mile. So you can actually hail this vehicle, it'll pick you up at your house and it'll take you right down to downtown Martinez in this autonomous vehicle. And like I said, there will always be a safety attendant. And why is that? Because if everyone remembers elevators used to have safety attendants inside of them. And so those elevators, that was because we were bridging a gap. No one trusted an elevator, right? No one wanted to step into an elevator. No one knew how to, no one wanted to push the button because they thought it was going to explode. And so that's why we have safety attendants, is because we're trying to bridge that gap and teach people about this new technology. So if you go to the next slide, please. So that's what we're doing, is we're trying to teach the people about the next generation of mobility. So we've been going out to different events. This was actually an event in Pleasant Hill, the Tinkers and Thinkers event. We actually brought a shared autonomous vehicle, let people touch and feel and get in. And it was so cool to see parents introduce the new technology to their kids, like little kids. This is what you're going to be riding on when you get older, and it was really cute. Okay, I've got a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, so I can appreciate it. And my kids get all excited, like, Dad, are we gonna go ride on the shuttle? Let's go. And so that's what we're doing. So we're trying to teach people that this is what's coming down the pipeline. We've got new emerging ideas and mobility options to really get people excited about transportation. If you go to the next slide, so what we're also doing is we're doing a massive public awareness campaign. So we're actually going to be coming to City of Martinez in June, I believe. I think we're still confirming with staff, but I think we're going to be coming to your barbecue event in June. And we are going to bring a shared autonomous vehicle, and we're going to have this booth set up, and we're going to talk about what we're doing, again, here in Martinez, but also about the future of transportation, but also get input. Like, we're at a critical moment in transportation. Things have changed. We're out of a pandemic. Travel behavior has changed. Trips have changed. We want to learn from you. We're no longer trying to think about this big regional commuter. There's a lot of different trips now. You know, we got lots of local trips. Local trips over the last 2 years have doubled because of the way travel patterns have changed from the pandemic, people working from home. There's more trips actually during the day than there ever was. Monday through Friday. And so we're trying to learn how to address those needs and gaps in transportation. And so we want to learn from you what you need, what are you looking for? And we can put that in our upcoming countywide transportation plan. And so we're doing this massive public awareness campaign over the next 6 months. And then also, again, we'll be doing again following year. But it's really important, again, to share people, what we're doing and how we're helping and providing benefit to Contra Costa County. So if you get the next slide, please. And then the other thing we do, and this is just it's coming up quick, it's on Tuesday. If you're interested in going, please let me know. But this is our Redefining Mobility Summit. So we actually host a one-day conference in Contra Costa County. I actually have 15 people from Japan coming, people from Australia, people from Netherlands coming, and they're coming to this event because they want to learn about what we're doing in Contra Costa County. So that's how big, we're a small agency, but we're big and mighty, I like to say. So, and some people like to call us the pea shooter organization. So we're only 20 people, by the way, and we manage a $2.7 billion program. So, I also like to say we're the model size of government in my mind too. So it's on April 18th, but we're gonna have 4 sessions, great speakers. If you wanna learn more, let me know. And if you go to the next slide, please. And that concludes me, and hopefully you're ready to go for the headliner. So, thank you.
It's exciting innovation. And thank you, by the way, for the plug for the King of the County. We hope to see you all there over the Father's Day weekend at Waterfront Park. We've added the 3rd day, so we're opening on Friday. And of course, it's going to be live music, our backyard barbecue competition, our professional barbecuers. We also have our exhibitors. There's going to be loads of fun for everyone. Carnival rides. So we heard, we listened, we got the feedback from the community. They need more kids' activities and opportunities for the whole family to enjoy themselves. So please join us. So without further ado, I get to introduce the headliner this morning, our lovely Mayor Brianne Zorn. Brianne was elected to the Martinez City Council as council member for District 3 in November 2020 and as a mayor in November 2022. She grew up in Seattle area and earned a BS in botany, a BA in anthropology, and a minor in Japanese from the University of Washington. She has worked in the nonprofit sector and environmental consulting for 16 years. She's a professional wetlands scientist, and her work experience includes botanical garden management, permitting and regulatory support, biological compliance monitoring, evaluation of environmental liability, sediment remediation, and wetland delineation and surveys. Well, you're testing me with this alliteration. She is a mother and stepmother of 3 kids and is proud to call Martinez her home since 2015. Welcome, Brianne Zorn, our mayor.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate the introduction. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the City of Martinez State of the City Breakfast. My name is Brianne Zorn, and I am the mayor of the City of Martinez. Next slide, Jesse. All right, so with my day job, we start every meeting with a health and safety moment, so I thought we would do the same today. So our health and safety moment for today is community alerts. So our city is evaluating options to expand beyond the current messaging offered the community warning system by the sheriff's office. So as of a few weeks ago, level 2 alerts are active and live via the community warning system. For anyone who has attended the meetings that we have offered over the past couple of months, you may know that up until this point, push notifications, so those that go to your phone or to email, were limited to only level 3s. So level 3 alerts were evacuate or shelter in place. But now we have added level 2s that are a lower level notification, and this is great progress. Our ultimate intent is for the city to manage and utilize our own platform to provide lower level notifications to the community. And we currently have discussions that are ongoing regarding this implementation. So when that actually has been decided, we will be communicating out through all of the city's information mechanisms, the e-newsletter, social media, and via city council updates. If you want to be a part of this, I encourage everyone to sign up at cwalerts.com. Next slide, please. So as an introduction to myself, my day job, as Lisa mentioned, I am a wetland scientist and botanist. My family is comprised of my husband, my stepson Ari, who's 20, my stepdaughter Elliot, who's 17, my son Wyatt, who's 8, and my father-in-law Carl, who all lives with us in our house. Ari is a graduate of Alhambra High School, and my son is in 2nd grade at John Muir Elementary. What I like to do, I like to hike, specifically wildflowers, so this is the best time of year for me. I like to bike, kayak, and bake cookies. Our family has been residents of the downtown neighborhood since 2015. And lastly, what drives me? So if you can think of how many people have mentioned to you all of the potential that Martinez has, and how many missed opportunities there have been over the years. So what drives me in this position is seizing these opportunities to leverage Martinez's potential into citywide success. So that is what I want to be talking about today. Next slide, please. Okay. All right, so I know there's a lot of words on this slide, just kind of bear with me, but my first 100 days. So November 25th was the spent catalyst release at MRC. I was not actually sworn in until December 7th, so I am sure it was a priority that at my first council meeting, the very first presentation was with respect to that event, and we had a multi-hour public comment period about this. December 9th was the second flaring event at MRC, and needless to say, that became kind of a theme over the first 100 days of my position. A few days after City Hall closed for the holidays, the atmospheric rivers rolled in and our first storms brought flooding conditions to Martinez. So that was the first 30 days. In January, we had our special council meeting to appoint someone to replace my seat for District 3, and we appointed now council member Satinder Mali. So I'd like to take a quick pause here and acknowledge how proud I am of the new faces in this photo that make up our new City of Martinez City Council. So I'd like to give a shout out to Satinder, if you don't mind standing, Jay, and Debbie. And I don't think Mark was able to join us today, but thank you so much, and I'm really looking forward to working with you all for the next several years. Also in January, we received a $2.6 million federal earmark for the fishing pier renovation. So thank you to staff and to our city manager, Mike Chandler, for all of the work on that. The next day, we did a study session on our Waterfront Marina Trust land use plan. Later in January, we had a joint meeting with the Planning Commission on the housing element update. In February, we had a CWS public workshop, like I mentioned in the health and safety moment. And at the end of February, we had a city council goal-setting workshop. In March, we talked about annexation. And at the end of March, we kicked off our capital improvement project plan review to start the biennial budget process. So it's been a busy 100 days. Next slide, please. So I'd like to start with kind of the overarching theme of my first 100 days. I thought it would be important to start with that. So the ongoing refinery investigation. Under the Industrial Safety Ordinance, Contra Costa Health is the driving agency here. So sometime in January, I believe, they requested that the district attorney pursue legal action for the spent catalyst release event. We worked with the county to name members of our community for the CC Health Community Oversight Committee, and Lauren Sagayan, our Assistant City Manager, is a member of that committee, and over the past couple of meetings, they have selected a consultant to complete the risk assessment. The dust fallout mapping by the Bay Area Air Quality Management District has been completed to inform soil sampling, and they did present this at the April 5th council meeting last week. Now, I do want to acknowledge that no soil sampling has been conducted to date. So all of the soil-related health advisories that have been issued, for example, if you want to plant edible fruits and vegetables, make sure to put it in clean 12 inches of soil in raised garden beds or containers, have all been issued out of an abundance of caution. So today I am asking that members of Contra Costa Health expedite the soil sampling, and not just soil sampling, but also sampling of the fruits and vegetables that they're encouraging us not to eat, so that we have the data that we need to be able to compare this to thresholds. And I'm also encouraging them to prioritize written communication and outreach to the public, because social media and websites just aren't going to cut it anymore. Next slide, please. So Martinez Refining Company, we've got lots of representatives here. Thank you for attending today. So they completed a root cause analysis in December, identified some issues that had occurred as part of the spent catalyst release, and they've also identified lessons learned and have made some changes as part of their operations. I think everyone from City Council has had an opportunity to tour the refinery, so thank you for hosting us on that. And I do want to acknowledge that MRC continues to sponsor events and organizations in Martinez. They're not just sponsoring today's event, but they are present throughout our city. So today I ask that they expand these sponsorships and these contributions to include more environmental activities and sponsorships in the community. And also, just the same as for the county, to prioritize communication to the public via written mailers, website, and public meetings, not just social media and websites. Thank you, Teresa. All right, next slide. All right, so let's talk a little bit about our goal-setting workshop that we held in February. So we were discussing all of the priorities of all of the members of council, and as a group with council members, staff, and several members of the public, thank you to everyone who showed up there, we narrowed it down to our top 4. So our top 4 ultimately became staff recruitment and retention, fiscal sustainability, a vibrant, sustainable waterfront and marina, and strong downtown and commercial centers. Next slide, please. All right, so let's start with staff. There have been many new faces at City Hall over the past year, and I think everyone who is on this is here today. So I want to acknowledge all of the new management staff at City Hall. First of all, our city manager, Mike Chandler, if you don't mind doing a wave or a stand, your choice. Now, Mike is not new to the city of Martinez by any stretch of the imagination. He's been working for the city for decades, but this is a new position for him, and we're so appreciative for him to be here. Sorry. Assistant City Manager, Lauren Sagayan. Our new Chief of Police, Andrew White. Planning Manager, Michael Cass. And our City Engineer, Joe Inke. And of course, our new council members, Jay and Satinder, who've already stood up, so you're good. These photos are actually all from a walk and talk that the city staff organized a couple of weeks ago, and it was so great for a wonderful turnout during the lunch hour. We walked a mile and then had lunch together, spent time chatting and just getting to know each other, and it was a wonderful, wonderful event. Next slide, please. All right, so let's talk about some of our recently completed projects. Our ozone treatment facility was completed in June 2022. Our general plan, a big deal, was adopted November 2022. Quiz, does anyone know when the last time was our general plan had been finalized? Tim. Yes, congratulations. So it was decades and decades and decades old. So this was a very big deal. We completed the dredging of the marina in November 2022. That's a photo that I took from the docks. It was very exciting. And we've just completed our final last Measure H projects comprised of Cappy Rick's Playground, that's what that rendering is there, Hidden Lakes Bathroom and Snack Shack, and Field 5 improvements, all of which probably still have chain link fencing around them now, but should be reopening sometime this month. Next slide, please. So let's talk about some of our in-process projects. So I mentioned that we've had some workshops about the Waterfront Marina Trust Land Use Plan. Workshops were held in October, December, and February, and we had really good turnout from members of the public. Concepts from feedback from those workshops are being refined for further discussion, and a draft plan will be presented on May 24th at a joint meeting of the City Council, the Planning Commission, and our Parks Commission, the PRMCC. But that's not just the only thing that we're doing down at the waterfront. We have actually quite a bit of progress we've made down there. So as I mentioned, we received a $2.6 million earmark for the fishing pier renovation and associated breakwater. So if anyone has a boat down at the marina, you probably know that there is a breakwater right underneath the fishing pier that has been slowly deteriorating over time, and it is gone now. And that's one of the several sources of siltation that comes into our marina, and one of the reasons we have to dredge more regularly than we'd like to. Tim Haile mentioned the Contra Costa Transit Authority feasibility study for ferry service. And so the cities of Hercules, Martinez, Pittsburgh, and Antioch have all contributed money to that feasibility study. So we're really looking forward to the outcome of that. We also had a recent tour with WIDA for a ferry pilot study, and Mike Chandler, there's a photo missing. Mike Chandler was hosting all of the folks. We had about 35 people that came from all of the different cities, mayors, council members, and local business folks to tour what the potential opportunities are for a pilot study at our waterfront. And I feel like Martinez is really in the running and has a lot of potential for that pilot study. And lastly, we have ongoing negotiations with California State Lands and the state of California to relieve some of our financial obligations associated with the marina. So I want to highlight that it is the highest priority for myself as well as my colleagues on council to further develop local, state, and federal partnerships to fund investing in our waterfront. Next slide. Okay, so the next project, the housing element. So we had joint meetings with the Planning Commission in January and March. The draft housing element was circulated on March 31st, which kicked off a 30-day comment period, and we'll be having an additional public meeting on April 26th. I encourage everyone to join us. The most interesting component that everyone always flips straight to is what are our RHNA numbers, the residential housing needs allocation. So for 2023 to 2031, we need to build 1,345 units in the city of Martinez. So how does that break down? Based on the report that was released in March, we have permitted or approved and entitled only 294 of those units. Based on current existing zoning, we have capacity for another 803 units. So the rest of the units, 1,074 units, are opportunity sites for rezoning. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. So this is a priority for the city to complete the draft and submit to the state for review and acceptance. And I do want to acknowledge that the due date for submittal of this was January 31st, but we have been working hard on this for the past couple of months and have every confidence we'll be getting this in sometime this summer. Next slide, please. So Alhambra Highlands, thank you to everybody who voted yes on this measure last year. We are currently implementing a contract, or I guess we already have implemented the contract with John Muir Land Trust to determine some near-term activities, including the land management plan, the grazing plan, and some trail recommendations. Our ultimate goal is how the city will responsibly open the site and move forward with a conservation easement. As maybe probably all of you know, the parcel tax will be collected for the next 30 years. So we have absolutely control over protecting this land for the next 30 years, but it is not in perpetuity. So it's important that we establish a conservation easement to protect it into perpetuity. So my priority is to open Alhambra Highlands this spring to the public for docent-led tours. And also I'd like to explore donation opportunities for improvements. Many people have approached me asking how they can contribute, how they can move this forward. And I think this is a great potential opportunity for us. Next slide, please. So let's look forward and talk a little bit about some of my personal goals for 2023 and beyond. Emergency preparedness, economic development, environmental advocacy and quality of life, and good government. Next slide, please. So for emergency preparedness, we've talked about the refinery, and as far as looking forward for me, I see opportunities for passing an industrial safety ordinance policy for the city of Martinez. The city of Richmond has done so, and as of right now, all of the actions that have occurred have been under the ISO for Contra Costa County, not the city of Martinez. Further, as I mentioned before, we are moving forward on CWS improvements, and I'm working with our chief of police to move this along. I'm interested in fire prevention and planning and evacuation routes, identifying paper roads and those folks that are living up in the beautiful hillsides of Martinez that are also at risk for fires. I am interested in emergency drills and partnership with CERT. They're regularly doing their emergency drills, and I would like to see our city leadership partner with them moving forward as well. And then also, of course, we're coming off of our atmospheric rivers, so natural events such as storms and earthquakes are also a constant threat kind of lurking in the background. Next slide. So on that topic, the city manager issued a state of emergency on January 8th. So the public works crews during all of these storm events responded to numerous mudslides, flooding, fallen trees, creek damage, and various incidents. The public works crews ultimately provided 14,000 sandbags and 171 yards of fill sand at 4 locations around the city. The state of emergency that the city manager issued enabled Public Works to act quickly and respond during the storm events, and then ultimately to apply for the necessary funding from organizations such as FEMA. Next, please. So, economic development. The city is moving forward on expanding capacity for economic development by hiring a new director to the Community and Economic Development Department. We've been receiving amazing applications from across the country, and I'm really looking forward to seeing who we ultimately decide to fill this position. We are working on downtown beautification, not just in the plaza where most people think about downtown beautification, but also beyond. The image there is a rendering of a recently approved mural that's going to be going in under the Highway 4 overpass, and I was very excited to work with Friends of Alhambra Creek. They are currently in the process of accepting donations to take them over the finish line, so if you're interested in this project, please let me know. One of the topics that comes up all of the time with respect to economic development is parking. We did a parking study last year, and we have been talking about parking, access to parking, wayfinding signage, and approved walking corridors from our parking areas to our retail districts. So you should see more progress on that front as well. I'm interested in relaunching our For Martinez program, which is an opportunity to really give members of our communities a sense of place in all of our retail centers across the city. And I am very interested in incentivizing small business. So thank you to the local business owners that are here. And I'm also interested in incentivizing light industrial. So light industrial, we have quite a few businesses in Martinez, and they don't necessarily have a retail front, but they do offer jobs, they do offer tax revenue, and they contribute to the local community. So I think this is important for us to be concentrating some of our efforts there. So the box in the corner about my call to action, there's a few promises that I have. We on council will be increasing the code enforcement and incentives to address vacant buildings across the city, something people have been asking for a long time, and I think this is really important for us to continue talking about. And I'm also very interested in adding a retail recruiter position to our Community and Economic Development Department. This person will have the ability to review potential retail businesses that can come into our town and really evaluate what it is that we don't have yet that we can work on so we can offer to attract those businesses. Next slide, please. So environmental advocacy and quality of life. So I've already talked about the Waterfront Marina Trust Land Use Plan. I've already talked about Alhambra Highlands. And we, a few months ago, passed the Alhambra Creek Vegetation Management Plan. So there's quite a few improvements that will be going on along Alhambra Creek moving forward in the city. But this picture here, I wanted to kind of take a pause and look at it a little bit. So when you go downtown in Martinez and you go to the plaza, you'll see the creek. I don't think everyone in our community really appreciates how lucky we are that we have such a stretch of a daylighted creek right through our downtown. There's only a handful of cities that have that. And yet, when we're in our downtown plaza, we've blocked off access to the creek with concrete walls and railings, and people don't really interact with it the way that I want. You can see that from this image, you can see from the image that the creek stretches a pretty significant portion of our downtown. So not only are vegetation improvements important, I also want to see more connectivity with our creek, connectivity along the creek through our downtown, and really supporting those businesses that will be introducing seating and more ways of interacting with the creek. There's so much opportunity there, and I hope that you can all work with me to move this forward. And one other component of Creekside living is identifying all of the potential ways we could clean up the creek. I think that's probably what people spend most of their time talking about these days. So not only having opportunities to clean up our immediate creek, but also work with folks that are currently doing one-offs right now across the city. They clean up their neighborhoods. I'd love to see us have a more united front work together to keep our streets beautiful and clean the way that we know that we want them. So my priorities as the takeaway for this slide, of course, investing in our waterfront and working on these downtown plaza improvements and connectivity with Alhambra Creek. Next slide. So the second part of environmental advocacy and quality of life is a little less natural, but no less green. So I want to thank Tim Haile for coming today from CCTA, talking about all of the transportation options that will be coming forward for the city of Martinez. It's so exciting, and I think this is really, really great that we're tapping into ferry service, train service, bus service, autonomous vehicles, et cetera. I'm very interested in increased EV charging stations. If you've attended our recent council meetings, you know that we've talked about this. This is really important as we're kind of turning that corner, and many of us are purchasing EV or hybrid plug-in vehicles. And this isn't just supporting EV charging stations at residential homes, but it's also supporting EV charging stations at local businesses, at local parks, and a variety of locations around the city. I want to also pause and talk about bicycle lanes a little bit. As Tim mentioned during his presentation, I was really excited about the idea of how bicycles are incorporated into these transportation plans. If anyone's been in downtown Martinez on a Saturday or Sunday morning, you know that we are a hub for cyclists. We have 20, 30, 40, 50 people that roll in on their bicycles because we're connected via the George Miller Trail, Franklin Canyon Road. We're on the route for the Bike the Bridges, right? There's so many wonderful ways that we can get around. And it's an opportunity for us to attract more economic development just by people on bicycles. So this is really important to me. I get around downtown quite a bit on my bike, and there's an opportunity here for better bicycle lanes across the city between all of our retail areas to potential ferry service at the waterfront and better bicycle parking at all of those destinations. Our last quality of life item that's really important to me is youth-focused planning. So I know that there are people that have acknowledged issues with some hangout locations around the city, but I think this is actually an opportunity to engage youth in our high schools and our junior highs to really make Martinez a place that they like to grow up in. So I have been moving forward on making sure that we have at least one youth position on the commissions that you'll be seeing over the next couple of weeks when we appoint new folks to the vacancies. And I hope that we're able to really engage this idea about youth-focused planning as we move forward. So as kind of a highlight again, citywide improvements to trails and connectivity and incentives for EV station installation are my highest priorities. Next slide, please. All right, lastly is good government. So we've already talked about hiring and retaining quality staff, and thank you to all of the wonderful staff that showed up this morning. I appreciate it very much. As I mentioned, we're starting the biennial budget process, which we've done for years, but we're also working on long-term planning. There's definitely more than whispers of the potential for a recession, and it's really important that we're being responsible and really forecasting out over the next several years beyond just that 2-year budget planning process. And then lastly, the most important thing for my time as mayor is better communication with residents. I want to thank all the staff that have been working diligently on our email newsletter. That's new just within the past year, and it has been so effective to get the word out. but I want to make sure that people understand that this is our priority and we'll be working on this more. So my call to action for us is my priority to meet the public where they are by implementing rotating town halls. I'll continue my walk and talks with the mayor that I started when I was on council and that I've continued since I've been the mayor. There'll be another one in the next month or so. And then we'll also continue or restart the council presence at the farmers market and take advantage of the city annex so that you have opportunities to have some face time with your council members. Next slide, please. All right, that is the end of my presentation. I really want to extend my appreciation and thank yous to the Chamber of Commerce for organizing today's event and inviting me to speak. It's an exciting time for the city of Martinez, and even though this job can be very overwhelming, I am very excited for all of the opportunities to make Martinez the wonderful place that we all know that it is. Thank you. Have a great morning.